we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have yet another reveal. We got through good old Thunder Fist here yesterday. And now we have Kennen. But we're going to start from left to right here. Because I think Kennen is... Yeah, Kennen's last. Alright. So, first up, we have Risu, the Silent Storm. I actually... This one's the most interesting to me. So, 3 mana in this game, I feel, is a very important breakpoint. And the reason I bring this up is because, and actually, let me pull up. I usually need like another Mobalytics chilling. So I have a card database because my memory sucks with card names. So, okay, here we go. So, the reason I mentioned 3 mana is because I feel like people underestimate how big of a deal it is to delay playing a unit until turns 4 or 5 just on the basis that it costs 4 or 5 mana. Like Risu the Silent Storm. Perfect example is this other dude right here, Yordle Captain. Everybody's thinking it's OP. It being 4 mana is actually pretty relevant in relation to its ability. Because like Poppy, you just have to attack with her. This, you actually have to summon units after it's played. So you would have to have at least 5 mana, or a unit that costs 0, 5 unit mana to be able to utilize this effect. So same with this. So for 5 mana, when I'm summoned, summon a Storm Cloud. And it's when I'm summoned, so it works with like revival effects, which is cool. But for 5 mana, you get an 8/4, which is actually really good, right? That's 12 stats total. That's usually like a 6 mana card, generally speaking. But it also has impact, which is also puts it kind of a little bit higher. So in all reality, you're looking at what would probably be like a 7 mana card for 5. But it's split up in 2, so the bigger part of it has lower health, which is important. The difference between 3 and 4 health actually isn't too big of a deal, though, so I think that's fine. But again, this doesn't come down until turn 5. On turn 5, you know, especially if your opponent banked 3 spell mana, there's probably going to be a lot of things that your opponent has to deal with the Storm Cloud. Now, what does interest me about this is recall effects. So this whole set, so far, Magic Misadventures, has had a lot of recall stuff, as we'll see with Kennen, too. And if you recall this over and over again, you can get a bunch of basically 5 mana 7/3s. But I don't think that's that good. Think about it. You're using a, let's say, even if it's a 0 mana recall effect, 0 mana, okay? You're spending 0 mana to recall it, 5 mana to replay it. That's like half of a turn. It's a little less than half of a turn on almost any turn. And that's assuming you have max mana, right? And that's a big commitment just to have a 7/3 beat stick with impact. I don't think this is ever going to be relevant. So I give this a 3, a 2. I was going to say 2 at first. I'm going to stick with it. 2 out of 10. I don't think this is going to be that great. Ember Monk. 4 mana, 3/3 Yordle. Quick attack. When you summon another ally, grant me +1/+0. So, this goes, you know, you could have some of those decks that are summoning multiple 1-cost units, stuff like that. You know, comes to mind, or what's the Allegiance in Ionia? It's 4 mana, right? Kinku Wayfinder, right? Which we'll get back to in a second, too, because of Kennen. You know, so you, in a perfect world, you play Kinku. That's 3 units. This becomes a 6/3 with quick attack at 4. Think about that, though. 6/3, quick attack for 4 mana. That's, like, good, but, like, just playable. And to get there, we had to have, like, this combo go off. So, again, unfortunately, just don't really think this is that great. You know... Now, we'll get to Kennen in a second, and maybe this is where you can utilize this a little bit more, but I just... Not feeling it. Not feeling the quick attack thing. Because I get reminded of Yasuo with that being quick attack, too. And again, going back to Fey Blade Twirler, quick attack gets, you know, additional attack when things happen. It's never been that good. And Fey Blade Twirler was, like, meant for this type of deck. So if anything, Fey Blade Twirler is going to be a lot better just because it only costs 2 mana. Like, think about that. Think about that, actually, for a second. Right, here's Fey Blade Twirler. Like, what? This gets +2 just for stunning or recalling a unit. Which you have 0 mana spells that do that. 1 mana, 2 mana, right? And it's 1/3 body. Okay? You're only getting 2 more attack on the surface for 2 more mana. Okay? And essentially an ability that's comparable, if not worse. Like, it's only +1, +0. Fey Blade Twirler, I think, is just better than this. So, yeah. Pretty shit. I'm gonna go with a 2 out of 10 for this one, too. Alright. Lightning Rush. Okay, this is basically Kennen's kit. So we'll go with Kennen. We're just gonna go straight into Kennen now. So, Kennen level 1 is alright, Kennen level 1. It's a 1 mana champion, which is a big deal. So when you think about champions that are 1 mana, all we have right now is Fizz, Teemo, and Zoe. Now we have Kennen. Interestingly enough, 3 of these are Bandle City too, and then there's Zoe. So there's not a lot of 1-cost champions. So it's a 2/1. So it's got the same stats as Fizz with the keyword. Well, Fizz doesn't really have a keyword. It's only if, you know, you play a spell or whatever. But so I thought I wasn't recording there for a second. That would have sucked. All right. When I'm summoned, create a Mark of the Storm in hand. You've summoned the same ally 5 times. So, first off, I mean, that's kind of hard. You've summoned the same... Alright, well, alright. But Kennen doesn't need to see the same ally get summoned 5 times, right? So you could do it before you even draw Kennen. It'll level up while it's in your deck, right? It's kind of like Fizz and Lee Sin. They'll level up while you play spells. So as long as you're playing the same unit 5 times, it'll level up. So that's actually not a bad level up condition. When summoned, create a Mark of the Storm. So Mark of the Storm, grant an enemy Mark of the Storm. And it's fleeting, right? Is that what that is? Yeah, this is, yeah, fleeting and fast. Okay. Grant an enemy Mark of the Storm. If they already have it, remove the mark to stun and deal to them. So it's a 0 mana fast speed, so you can always play it. So which means you can set up for things too, right? And the idea is you play 2 of these to basically deal 2 damage and stun the unit for free, which is good. Very, very good, right? When you think about it, 2 mana fast speed, Mystic Shot, 2 damage, also doesn't stun it. So this is very, very good. You're getting like maybe like a 3 to 3.5 mana worth if you can get 2 of these. Now there's the problem, right? So now we have Kennen. When it's summoned, you create a Mark of the Storm. But then after that, I mean, as of right now, we don't have anything else that creates Mark of the Storms. At least that they've revealed. Now, I imagine they will reveal something. But it's basically entirely reliant upon leveling up Kennen. Because level 2, when I'm summoned, blocked, or attack, create a Mark of the Storm in it. So you could basically get 3 in 1 turn. Generally, you'll probably get 2. Summon and attack, or attack and block. But again, he's probably not going to get blocked too often because he does have quick attack. So, but at least you get 1 a turn, right? Which is pretty good. So even a delayed 0 mana deal 2 and stun is pretty good. So generally speaking, I think Kennen is a pretty good champion for a 1-drop, right? The quick attack allows you to be aggressive too, which is cool. You can trade up with some units potentially. But now we have Lightning Rush, the champion spell. Recall an ally to deal 2 to anything. Bad. Bad. Well, not, okay, maybe not bad, but like, if we're using Mystic Shot again, Mystic Shot's 2 mana. Now this basically, you're charging not only 1 more mana, but also having to recall an ally. So the idea is that, okay, recalling an ally is, you know, an upside in this particular build. But then you, like, basically you prevent it from being played in other archetypes, which is unfortunate. I really think this should be 2 mana, personally. Because you're really just restricting it to a very specific type of deck. And I don't think this needs to be restricted to that. But this basically gives Bandle City, like, its own Mystic Shot, right? Which, again, you could also recall Kennen. And that's the thing, too. Like, you have to pay more mana to get the effect of whatever unit you're recalling. Even if it's Shadow Assassin, right? You still have to repay the unit mana to get the effect. Which feels, you know... Like, sure, great. You got to recall it to draw a card, but, like, you can't play it for free, so it's not great. So, again, I went over this yesterday. If we go over all the Ionia cards, right, and search, like, what? Recall, right? So, we have Monastery of Hirana is, like, the go-to here, right? Like, this is likely going to be a thing now, finally. Recall an ally can't be cast in combat or in response to a spell. Kind of sucks you can't do it in response to a spell, but hey, whatever. And it's every single round. So a 1-mana recall for an ally is actually going to be really strong in a deck like this if you're able to set up Monastery. It'd be nice if Monastery was even cheaper, actually, to be honest with you. Like 2 mana to get it down early. Like Kennen on 1, Monastery on 2 would be amazing. I hope they make that change. I don't think they will. As it stands, it's like, eh. You got Retreat, obviously. This is going to be pretty good with all of this, right? This, making the unit basically cost 2 less mana if it's a 3-cost unit, is what makes this so good. This is why Retreat was played so much in, like, Azaralia, right? So, we got people already saying, okay, Kennen and Azaralia is going to be a thing, right? I just lost my train of thought there. So you got people saying, like, Kennen and Azaralia are going to be a thing. Or just Kennen, sorry, you can't play 3, well, you could play 3 champions, but not those 3. Kennen and Aurelia. So, okay. Kennen and Aurelia. I mean, if you're summoning, alright. This will also level up. She levels up Kennen, right? So you're summoning a bunch of the blades. That will trigger Kennen's level up. So that's kind of the idea there, right? Not to mention if you recall Aurelia and you summon her again, you get a Flawless Duet, yada, yada, yada. There's other units in Aurelia's package that when they're recalled, you can summon Blade Dances. I don't know. Maybe. It seems like a very finicky deck. I'm not crazy on it yet. They do seem to work cohesively together, but it still just seems a little bit iffy to me. There's very weak units. You're starting with a Kennen. Got 1 health. Like, that was one of the things, too, right? With Azaralia, you have a Azir. It's a 5 health unit. He's sticky. And he's generating the Sand Soldiers, right? And you had Emperor's Dias, right? Instead, now you're basically trading out Emperor's Dias for, what did we just say? Monastery of Hirana, right? Which is very not proactive. Or like it is, but it isn't. Because you can't play it in combat or anything like that. I don't know. It definitely, I think it'll be a fun archetype for sure, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be good from the get. What else do we have here? I don't know why some of these aren't loading. Yeah, see, Coastal Defender. Like, this card kind of comes online a little bit with a lot of these cards that have already been revealed. Defiant Dance, same deal. Ooh. I mean, maybe... I mean, listen. Okay, Kennen Aurelia with Field Musicians. If the Monastery engine works as well as I think it could, then Field Musician would be insane. Once you've summoned 3 other allies, refill your spell mana and draw 1. That's insane. That turns this engine on big time. And this only being 4 mana is actually big. I talked about 3 to 4 mana earlier. It's a little bit delayed, which, you know, makes it balanced. Because if it was 3 mana, it would be busted. But getting it down on 4 after Monastery is actually amazing. I'm convincing myself that the Kennen Aurelia might be better than I thought initially. And then yeah, these are like the recall effects, right? You recall this and it blade dances again. I just don't think if it's Kennen Aurelia, I don't think it's going to be very heavy on blade dance. I don't think blade dance is the win condition anymore, right? I think blade dance is just the level up, the way that Kennen levels up a little bit easier. That's it. Believe it or not. So, and then this thing too, I keep mentioning this. Each round, the first time you recall a follower, summon an exact ephemeral copy of it. I mean, it's only followers too, not champions. I'm so curious how this works. Because if Ari is revealed, I feel like there's going to be a Kennen archetype, which we're already kind of starting to see with, like, Aurelia. Then there's going to be an Ahri archetype, which maybe goes with Yasuo. I don't know. Ahri and Yasuo are together in the Ruined King. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right? They're pretty spot on with how they work with the lore in this game, so I would not be surprised if Ahri Yasuo is meant to be an archetype. And then they demoed this with Dawn and Dusk. This is not a playable card. Don't play this card. If this actually becomes playable in a Kennen archetype, I will be intrigued in the very least. But yeah, so let's go back to the actual cards. So, do I like Kennen and the idea behind Kennen? Hell yes. Right now, though, all of the other cards that have been revealed seem terrible. Tornado Warrior seems to be the best one for working with Kennen. And Monastery of Hirana, because getting a new keyword every turn is a pretty big deal. And which is why I think this might actually be better than Fey Blade Twirler, right? Although it only has 2 health, which is, I mean, that's a big advantage for Fey Blade Twirler to have 3 health. But yeah, so this I think might end up being playable. But the rest are very underwhelming. Very, very underwhelming so far. With Grumble Slug being kind of like the most promising just because it's low cost. Yordle Captain, again, I'm not very big on. And the rest just seem kind of bad. So I'm really hoping there's one more piece of the puzzle here for Kennen. Maybe it crosses over with Ahri's stuff that gets revealed. Because I imagine, like, this is probably the core kit for Kennen. When they do more reveals, we're probably looking at a lot of the core kit for Ahri instead. So I'm curious to see what comes of that. But I didn't really rate these, huh? So I did 2, 2. Lightning Rush, I'll give a 3. This is really disappointing. This should be 2 mana. So this I'll give a 3. And Kennen, I'll give an 8. Kevin, I'll give an 8. Did I just say Kevin? Kennen, I'll give an 8. I mean, it's a 1 mana 2/1 with quick attack. Right there, that's already decent. Just as a straight up 1-drop.